We just swapped our 2010 Lexus ES350 for a new 2016 Lexus ES350. Moving to the new car, I wanted to move my radar detector and dash cam as well. Both had been hardwired. I wanted to hardwire them in the new car too. The radar detector has already been done and is in another video. Here we are going to do the dash cam. In order to power the camera, I needed a cable that would convert 12 volt DC to 5 volt DC. So it had to have a voltage regulator on it. I used a cable made by EDO. I picked it up on Amazon for about $10. It has a micro USB connector on one end, and the other end is simply a red and black power lead that connects to the car wiring. My friendly service department at Lexus was nice enough to supply me with a PDF showing the mounting points for the overhead compartment. Basically, it only has 4 bayonet mounts on it. The old car had 2 screws that had to be removed first, so this should prove to be a relatively simple removal and drop. Okay, we just finished wiring the radar detector into the mirror. Now I'm going to try and wire the dash cam into the overhead for a different 12 volt source. The reason I'm doing that up here is because the dash cam requires a voltage regulator, and there's no place convenient to really hide it in the mirror bezel, and I thought it would be smarter to do it up here. Now, according to the information from Lexus, there are 4 bayonet plugs up here that should just pop loose, and we're going to see if we can find them. And this doesn't seem to want to come down too easily. There we go. How to get up higher. There we go. There should be one more right here. There we go. Okay, we've got the 4 plugs, and now we just have to find a connector that'll give us 12 volts. So I will be shutting this down for a moment as we look for a 12 volt ignition controlled line. Okay, we have everything connected now. It took me a while to find a live power lead. Problem was, I started looking on the right side, and I couldn't find a 12-volt line on the wide side until I remembered my experience in my 2010 ES. One of the connectors actually will not carry power until the other side is hooked in. So the left side carried the 12 volt, and that's the side I hooked into. Now, the negative was the black and white wire, one of the black and white wires on the connector, and there was a light brown or beige wire. That was my positive. I will highly advise you, check with a voltmeter. You know, I used a pin in the little holes next to the wire and just pushed it in alongside the wire to check with a voltmeter, and finally found a 12 volt ignition connected. So we have our dash cam up there, we have our radar detector, which is hooked in through the bezel in front of this, and now we'll hook this all up. And well, for those who want proof, no, I'm in the back seat, I can't hook that up now. In a moment we'll show you that it turns on with the ignition, and then we'll go for a ride. Okay, so here we are, we're all buttoned up, the console's back in, the camera's mounted with a suction cup mount, although you can use an adhesive, and we'll turn on the ignition, and it's coming up. Oh, there we go. Hard to see in this light, but I think you can see it's on with the ignition, and it will go off with the ignition in just a second. Just shut everything down. And there it goes. Now we'll go for a ride so you can see what the picture looks like from the cockpit. To show you how nice the camera is. This is an ePrance 805. Works very well. Been using it for about a year now, and been very happy with it. Got a 64 gig memory card. The new 806, I believe it is, can use two 64 gig cards, but I found 64 is more than adequate, and it seems to allow about 24 hours worth of recording. So, there we go. We're just going around the block. Get a nice wide view with this camera, and hopefully we'll never need it. However, we have a tenant. He had someone back up into him, which certainly this would have spotted. My mother recently had someone pull in front of her and hit the brakes, and she ended up rear-ending the woman who pulled in front of her. So stuff does happen. We had someone almost take off our fender on the highway as he cut in front of us. It's nice being able to have documentation of events. It'd be even nicer if we had the same going on for the rear, but maybe down the road we'll worry about that. K-band. And we wired in the radar detector as well today, and that's working nicely too. So here we go. We're back to the driveway, and there's our demonstration. Nice, neat wiring job. Took a little longer than expected. Part of it was my own fault. However, on the 2010 ES, it was easy to discover that the one side was powered. One connector was powered, and if you disconnected the other side, you couldn't find a 12-volt lead until you reconnected the hot side. So there we go.